Welcome to the StockMiner.com studios. I'm your stock miner, Brian Johnson. And we ended up about flat on the day to end not only the day, but the month as well. So we are done with August, moving into September, which historically has not been all that good to the markets. But for this year has yet, of course, to be seen. Here you see the Dow today. Fed talked. We had the move down here, back up, back down, back up. Still very choppy. Now, what we're seeing here, though, is, and it's more than obvious to me, it just sticks out. It's almost, it really is, it's almost too obvious. However, it is what it is, and so for the time being, look at this nice head and shoulders. A perfect shoulder, nice head, perfect shoulder. About the same distance up, same size, the whole bit. We got to get back below all these levels to even breathe at the fact that that might be it. Maybe a gap down starts it. It's anybody's guess. The markets did, like I said, close even on the day, but as soon as the markets were closed, it skyrocketed, as though somebody or some people behind the scenes happened to know, kind of what was going on and managed to maybe see something like this. It's anyone's guess. We can also go from the wicks down here, and you can see that still makes a very nice head and shoulders type of a pattern. Ultimately, it's still back below these levels for our shorting opportunities. If you guys want to get a little bit more risky, you can go with a little long above 10-100, watching, of course, this blue line, which we have not visited yet. If the buying pressure does happen to come in and we can get above these moving averages, then I think blue line is definitely within our grasp. Could take the news. Let's wait for the economic data over the next few days and see what we get. From a daily perspective, too, it's all just chop. Look at this. It's straight sideways for the last week. All sideways. Big moves up, followed by big moves down, only to get us into this trading range here. Still like the 10-100, that is very aggressive for a long here. If you're going to hold overnight, you're going to want it to get up and over this 10-150-ish, 10-160-ish area before you start thinking about that, keeping in mind the moving averages above you that are now starting to drop. NDX on a 60-minute here, giving us that same type of head and shoulders formation. NDX, the weakest of the indices again today. That is not good for the markets. Need to see some strength coming back into the NASDAQ to get some confidence back in investors. Here you see it from a daily, moving sideways. Just a lot of chop today, guys. Fed spoke, and we did a little up, we did a little down. By the end of the day, it looked like we might start to crash into the close, and then it turned around and started moving straight up. Once again, finished flat for the day, but then after hours got crazy. Things moved very, very violently, and the after hours were already up about 50 to 60 points on the Dow from where we started, or I should say finished, the day in the regular hours. So tomorrow, watch closely as to where we will open. I'm finding some overhead resistance around the 10,044 area. That might be where we start the day or just above that for tomorrow. NASDAQ on a weekly also, still only Tuesday, not going to worry about it too much. SPX on a 60-minute doing the same thing, coming down, putting in this little head and shoulders pattern and or below here. I still like it below 1039 on any move below that area. Still looking for entries to the short side. Anything above us are these moving averages, the big blue, this overhead moving average, and as we move to the daily, you can see that just get compounded by the fact that these moving averages up at 1080 are right above us as well. That is a little ways away, so breaks up and over this 1065, 1070 area might give you an opportunity to play it from about 1065 on up to the 1080 area. Just watch these areas very close as you trade them, if you're going to take that trade. Still got to beat Big Blue. Here on a weekly, you can see us moving down, hitting this support. Big deal. It's only Tuesday. We'll worry more about that later on in the week. VIX 2 holding up right here. Notice it was down for the day by the time it was all said and done. Okay, so the market's finishing flat, but the VIX down heavily here. Down 4% on a day where the markets were basically flat to close it all out. Divergence in that respect. Weekly still right in the middle of everything, looking for major breaks one way or the other in the VIX to give us indication of where these markets might go. Apple on a 60-minute also putting in just a green day, barely at the end of the day. You can see it up 60 cents. More or less, guys, just wandering sideways here. Here's your break. Up and over 244 starts to get me a little bit more bullish on Apple in just the short term, though. As we reach 246, you can see the overhead resistance. Any breaks above that, then now maybe we're talking about more major moves to 248 and 250. Back below 240, as it has been, still the target to watch to the downside. Below 240, then your 236, then your 232 on the short side. From a weekly, you can see Apple as well, trying to hold this line as best it can, and that line is 240 on the weekly. So important to keep track of as you move forward into the middle to end of the week on Apple. Watch that 240 level. FAS was up 30 cents by the end of the day, but look at this overall. Chop, chop, chop. Very difficult to do anything with this right in through here. We can try and make a head and shoulders pattern, whatever. Is awful pretty on my side. So breaks up and over 18 or 1825 give you opportunities to play this thing, I think, back to the long side, especially from an intraday standpoint, but only back into the 1850. You want this thing up above about 19 before you start looking for any more trades to the long side beyond those points. I also like it back up above here as well. Anything back above that 1825, 1850 also gives you an opportunity here to start looking to the upside. So are we putting in some sort of a low base? Are we putting in a foundation down here from where to move up from? Anybody's guess. Gotta wait for the break. Still 17 to the low side, 1825 to the long side on FAS. FAZ on a 60-minute. Tried to break, actually got a gap up and out of this, but tried to break this little bull flag that it's holding on to. But every day that goes by makes it tougher and tougher for the bulls. If we see a pullback, it's the $16 area I'm watching closely. So below 16.50, play it back to maybe 16 bucks, and I'd be very cautious with your profits at that point. Anything above 17.50 seems to be where all of the sellers are hanging out. So above 17.25 is a very aggressive long play. Still one that some of you may want to take. Obviously least aggressive, above 17.50 or above 18 bucks ultimately for your plays to the long side. Look at the consolidation we're seeing. This is what we're really watching close, is the 200-day moving average. It starts to fail. I think the rest of the financials go up from that point. I'm sorry. FAZ is the bear ETF for this. So as this goes down, the financials go up. So we break that 200 and start to drop. That is a good shorting opportunity. I think the banks then should see a little bit of a pop or a rise in the markets from that point. That'll do it for today's video. It was very, very choppy up until we closed, and then things got a little crazy in the after hours. It's anyone's guess what will happen again tomorrow because we're still in a consolidation. We can look at these head and shoulders patterns and say, okay, bias is down. I still have to be, because of the charts, with a neutral to bearish bias in the markets. But I'm ready at a moment's notice to change my trading and change my thoughts if we get breaks up and over these more major levels here. So watch these closely into tomorrow's trading, and let's see what happens. I'm not so sure that the only way the bears are going to beat this down here is just a gap below it. It's quite a gap to get below that, but you know, any major bad news comes out later on in the markets, that could be what does it. However, any push below this on an intraday basis, this is a good short, not only from a swing trader's perspective, which is holding for a few days, but from an intraday perspective. I like these levels down here. Watch them closely, and I'll be back with you again tomorrow. Bye.